Get up. It's a Moody morning. 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 Better get up on it. Hey, it's a Moody morning. Don't let your mornings be moody. Let them be moody.
Well, hello, boys and girls. It's me, Dr. Moody, and welcome back to our podcast, Moody Mornings, where we have exactly what you need for your moody mornings. We're back today with episode number 24, and on today's episode, we have a very special one. We're going to be talking about Veterans Day. As always, before we start, let's welcome my co-host, Pastor co-host Steve. How are you doing today?
Well, good Moody morning, Dr. Moody. I'm doing really good today, especially because I don't have to do the intro today. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited for today's episode, and I'm really looking forward to talking with our special guest. Is it time to introduce him yet? Does he know how much time we have for the show?
Dr. Moody, what do you have up your sleeve today? You've mentioned that word time twice already. You only do something like this when you have something planned. I'm a little nervous.
Oh, Pastor Steve, there's no need to be nervous, and time will tell what I have planned.
Oh, boy. Well, boys and girls, this week we are celebrating Veterans Day. So on today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about Veterans Day, and we'll actually be talking to a real-life veteran. Dr. Moody, do you know what Veterans Day is and why we celebrate it?
I'm pretty sure it has something to do with being a veteran.
That does have something to do with it, but it's much more than that. Do you know what a veteran is?
I believe it's a retired soldier, someone who once served in the military.
That's right, Dr. Moody. And do you know what the different branches of the United States military are?
Well, let's see here. According to the U.S. military website, it's the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, the Air Force, and Space Force.
Yes, Dr. Moody. And as you can tell, there have been a lot of men and women who we call veterans who have served our country over the last 250 years. Now, Veterans Day is a day to celebrate and to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, their love of country, and their willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good.
Oh, so it's time to say thank you for their service in the military?
Yes, Dr. Moody, it's a time to say thank you. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about Veterans Day before you introduce our special guest. Did you know that Veterans Day is always observed officially on November 11th, regardless of the day of the week on which it falls?
Oh, Pastor Steve, don't we celebrate veterans on Memorial Day as well?
Yes, Dr. Moody. You know, many people confuse Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Memorial Day is a day for remembering and honoring the military personnel who died in the service of their country, particularly those who died in battle or a result of the wounds they sustained in battle. While those who died are also remembered, Veterans Day is the day that we set aside to thank and to honor all those who served honorably in the military, whether it was in war or in peace. In fact, Dr. Moody, Veterans Day is largely intended to thank living veterans for their service, to acknowledge that their contributions to our national security are appreciated, and to underscore the fact that all those who served, not only those who died, have sacrificed and done their duty. Dr. Moody, why don't you go ahead and introduce our special guest today?
Yes, it's finally time. He's a veteran who served and fought for our country in the United States Army. Please join me in welcoming Sergeant Fernando Barboa. Thank you for joining us, sir, and thank you for your service to our great nation.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Sergeant Barboa, you're going to have to excuse Dr. Moody. He can be a little over the top at times.
No worries. I'm a fan of the show, so I know how Dr. Moody can be.
Oh, what's that supposed to mean? Sergeant Barboa, do you mind if we ask you some questions about your time in the Army?
Of course, that's why I'm here today.
Well, how old were you when you decided to join the military?
I was actually 19 years old when me and my twin brother decided to join the Army.
Oh, what made you choose the Army over the other branches of the military?
Well, I have two older brothers that joined the Army prior to me and my brother, so we decided to go that route. Plus, the Army is the best branch in the world.
Oh.
Why is the Army the best branch in the world, Sergeant Barboa?
Well, because everything else just kind of fell underneath after that. The Army was the very first one. Plus, you know, when we read the Bible, what do we read? The Lord's Army.
Oh,
that's the best one.
Oh, that's good, Sergeant Barboa. You know, Dr. Moody, Sergeant Barboa brings up a good point. There are probably some boys and girls who one day may want to go out and to join the Army. And this might be a good opportunity for them to learn about it. But there are some who may not join the army. That may not be what God has for them to do. They may never march in an infantry. They may never ride in a cavalry.
Shoot the artillery.
You know where we're going with this, Dr.
I
Moody.
think I do. It's worship time. I think I know exactly what song we're going to do today. Boys and girls, why don't we all join together and let's sing I'm in the Lord's army.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. I'm in the Lord's army. I'm in the Lord's army. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir.
Hop, 2, 3, 4. Hop, 2, 3, 4. Sergeant Balboa, did you spend a lot of time marching in boot camp?
Sure did. We actually called it learning how to drill. We spent many weeks learning how to march.
And why was that so important in your training?
Well, it's basically we learn how to have attention to detail, hearing how to follow orders on command.
Where did you go to boot camp and how long were you there?
So I went to boot camp at Fort Benning, Georgia. We call it home of the infantry. It's in Columbus, Georgia, and I was there for 3.5 months.
Well, were there any funny moments that happened during boot camp?
Yes, actually, two of them come to mind when you ask that. Me and my twin brother, we joined together, which is not common. And one of the nights when we first got there, a drill sergeant was walking through there and doing his checks. He looked at me and my brother. Obviously, he noticed that we were twins, and there's a stigma.
What gave it away?
Well, we looked exactly alike. Yeah. But there's a stigma about twins that they can either read each other's thoughts or feel each other's feelings or whatever. So the drill sergeant turns to my brother, slaps him, and then looks at me and says, "Did you feel that?" And I said, "Negative, drill sergeant," and kept walking on by as my brother started crying.
Well, any other stories?
Yeah, actually, another time later on, as we were already in our boot camp, drill sergeant came out as we were cleaning, and he sneezed very violently, and his tooth came flying out.
Oh, that's happened to me before. That's actually why I don't have any teeth. I sneeze a lot.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But as his tooth came flying out, it fell in a white bed of rocks, and as we started laughing, he made us look for his tooth. So for 2.5 hours, we were looking for his tooth.
Did you find it?
Oh, we found it.
Did you have to put it back in his mouth?
No, he put it back in his own mouth because that would have been kind of weird. But for another hour and a half, we spent putting all the rocks back in place.
Oh, those are some very funny stories, Sergeant Balboa.
Yeah, don't get any ideas, Dr. Moody.
No promises. Do you have any fake teeth? Anyways, Sergeant Balboa, what unit were you in, and how many soldiers were in your unit?
So I was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, which is in Germany. And the unit that I was stationed to, it was called Alpha Company 16th Infantry. And there was a total of 4 platoons, which was altogether about 120 guys.
Wow. Well, if I'm not mistaken, everyone in the Army is given a job or an assignment. What was your job assignment?
So I was in the infantry, which is front lines. And when I first joined, I was a machine gunner. And then from a machine gunner, I became a squad leader of 10 guys. And from there, I was a gunner on a tank.
Oh, it's a lot of action, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of things that went boom.
Well, what were some habits that maybe you developed in the Army that you like or you still use today?
Just attention to detail. Anything that I've ever done, I try to just take that with me. So I pay attention to what I'm doing. When I've given an instruction, I just kind of keep following it through.
Maybe Dr. Moody should join the Army.
Oh.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yes.
You're already half shaven.
Could use that attention to detail too.
Yeah, I probably could. Well, Sergeant Balboa, what do you want your kids to know and remember about your time in the Army?
That I love being a soldier and that I'm very proud of serving my country.
Well, those are very good things. For what length of time did you serve in the Army?
I served for a little bit less than 6 years altogether.
Well, that's a long time.
Okay, Dr. Moody, what's up with all of these time references?
I kind of noticed that too.
Yeah, one more question. What's the most unusual thing that happened to you while you were in the Army, Sergeant Balboa?
Well, I actually ended up in the cover of Time magazine. Somehow, though, I kind of think you already knew that.
Time magazine, that's it. That's why I kept mentioning time.
Oh my, Dr. Moody. But for those of you who may not know, the cover of Time magazine has often been called the most important real estate in journalism. Usually the cover of the magazine is of an influential person, something or someone that reflects an event that is happening in the world. So for Sergeant Balboa to be on the front of Time magazine, it's pretty cool.
Well, it looks like we've run out of time today. If you see or know someone who is a veteran, make sure you thank them for their service. And thank you again, Sergeant Balboa, for taking the time to share with us today. And thank you to all those who have honorably served with our great country. Have a happy Veterans Day. Boys and girls, do you have a question about the Bible, or maybe a question for Dr. Moody? We would love to hear from you. Have your parents message us on Instagram, and who knows, maybe we might just answer your question here on Moody Mornings. Next time on Moody Mornings, we'll be talking about a very important subject, being wise. Be sure to tune in. Don't forget to check us out online. Have your parents search for us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and just have them search for CCGS Kids. And don't forget to follow our podcast, Moody Morning, so you don't miss out on any new episodes. And remember, no matter what time of the day, you can always have a Moody Morning. We'll see you next time.